The night was dark and stormy. The rain was coming down in sheets, and the wind was howling. The trees swayed and creaked in the wind, and the raindrops beat against the windshield of the car. John was driving home from work. He was tired and stressed, and he just wanted to get home and relax. He was driving slowly, but the rain made it difficult to see. Suddenly, John felt the car start to skid. He tried to control it, but it was no use. The car swerved off the road and into the woods. John slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. The car crashed into a tree. John was thrown from the car and landed on the ground. He was dazed and confused, but he was not seriously injured. John got up and looked around. He was in a dark forest. The trees were tall and thick, and the only light came from the headlights of the crashed car. John started to walk through the forest. He was lost and scared. He didn't know where he was or how to get home. As John walked, he heard strange noises. He heard the wind whistling through the trees, and he heard the hooting of owls. But he also heard other noises that he couldn't identify. John started to get scared. He thought he heard something moving in the bushes. He thought he saw something lurking in the shadows. John started to run. He ran as fast as he could, but the forest seemed to go on forever. John was exhausted. He couldn't run anymore. He stopped and leaned against a tree. He was breathing heavily, and his heart was pounding. John closed his eyes and tried to calm down. He took a few deep breaths, and he tried to think clearly. John knew that he had to get out of the forest. He couldn't stay there forever. He had to find a way to get home. John opened his eyes and looked around. He saw a light in the distance. He started to walk towards the light. As John got closer to the light, he saw that it was coming from a small cabin. John ran to the cabin and knocked on the door. A moment later, the door opened, and a man stepped out. The man was old and frail, and he had a long white beard. "Can I help you?" the man asked. "I'm lost," John said. "Can I use your phone to call for help?" "Of course," the man said. "Come in." John went inside the cabin. The man led him to a phone, and John called for help. A few minutes later, the police arrived. They took John to the hospital, where he was treated for his injuries. The police searched the forest, but they never found the car that John had crashed. They also never found out what the strange noises were that John had heard. John never went back to the forest. He was too scared. He still has nightmares about the night he lost his car control and found himself in the dark forest with loud sounds.